cutting pieces. We're gonna start off with our strap pieces. We're cutting 2 of these. Our back pieces, we're cutting 4. That's 2 for the main, 2 for the lining. For our side front, we're cutting 4, 2 for the main, 2 for the lining. For the center front, we are cutting 4, 2 for the main, 2 for the lining. And then for our front cover up piece or whatever, we're going to be cutting 2 of these, right? For our side front skirt lining, we are cutting 2 of these. And then for our center front skirt lining, we are cutting 1 on fold. And then for the side front skirt, we are cutting 2. For the center front skirt, we are cutting 1 on fold. And then for the back skirt, we're cutting 4. That's 2 for the lining, 2 for the main. So now let's get into cutting. I usually don't show you guys how I cut my fabric, but because this is such a complex piece, I thought, you know, you guys need to see this because I know you guys are very strict when it comes to the videos, hey? So I'm starting off with my back piece. Like I said, for my back piece, I'm gonna need 2 for the main, right? I'm using a chiffon fabric. This dress, by the way, should I tell you? Maybe I should tell you guys. Like, this dress was inspired by a dress that Nicki Minaj wore in the Tap Out music video. So that's why it's yellow. And then in the middle of it, I was also like, Beyonce lemonade yellow, you know? This is my second yellow dress that I've made, but the first yellow dress that I intend on wearing. So anyway, I cut the first piece, right? I folded the fabric over on itself and then I cut the center back piece. So then I had 2 pieces, right? And then I take this is the side front skirt piece. I'm working on my main pieces first, right? So I folded the piece over onto itself and then I cut the side front skirt piece, right? So that way I have 2 pieces in the end. All right, so now I'm just, because I put that piece on fold for some odd reason, I'm going ahead and, like, you know, cutting it so that I have 2 pieces. And then so there we go. So for my my center front piece, what was gonna happen is, if I try, it needs to be cut on fold. The only way you're gonna be able to cut your center front piece on fold is if you fold your fabric diagonally. That's gonna make it wider at the hem, and it's going to accommodate what it is that we want to do, right? So you're gonna have to fold it diagonally, and then you will be able to place your piece on fold, and then you'll be able to cut it, right? So went ahead and I cut that piece, right? When I was done, I moved on to my lining pieces. For my lining pieces, I am using a stretch satin, right? Now, when I was in the fabric store, it felt great. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is amazing. When I put it behind the chiffon, I was like, this is perfect. I do not recommend doing this. Why? This fabric was very heavy. Considering the fact that there's a lot of rouging in the dress, you are going to use a lot of fabric. It's going to be too heavy. So I highly recommend, please look for a fabric that is opaque for your lining, but that is going to be super lightweight, like the lightest weight opaque fabric that you can get. The problem with the chiffon is that it was see-through. I wish I just used chiffon for everything, but it was like very see-through. So my recommendation is please find a fabric that's lightweight, that is opaque, right? Anyway, I am cutting my back pieces, right? You saw me fold the fabric over, and then now I put my back piece, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it, right? Like I said, for your back pieces, you need a total of 4. That will be 2 from the chiffon, and then that's another 2 from the straight satin, right? So we're gonna go ahead, cut, and then move on. Okay, so now I'm going to be cutting what piece is this? My center front piece. I love it. I love how I don't even know my own piece, right? I want to be cutting the center front piece. Guys, I want to warn you, this is one of the more complex dresses that I've made, right? I also want to say I don't know everything. I'm also learning. The thing about sewing is that you are constantly learning, and the more you try different designs, the more you are going to learn, right? So as we are making this video, we are learning together, you know. So anyway, these are my things that I needed, right? I showed you guys how I cut everything first, and now I'm showing you everything that I needed. So we're gonna be using an elastic. We need an elastic for the back. We need some thread, and then we're gonna be using these 2 feet. Actually, I used a total of 3 feet. This one is an overcast foot, right? If you don't have an overlocker, please use your overcast foot. And then we have the rolling hem foot. Anyway, here are our top pieces. You did not see me cut the top pieces because they are so straightforward. They're not like the skirt pieces that really needed me to show you, right? So I'm taking my center front piece and my side front piece, and I'm going to be putting them right sides together. I'm going to match them at the notches, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and like pin them in place. I'm gonna repeat for the other set, right? So we're gonna go ahead and pin. So this is the first time I'm making a video in a very long time, and I forgot how we do things here. Like, do I just chit chat with y'all? How do we usually do this, guys? You know. So anyway, we are going to pin everything in place. I love it. I'm just taking my time. Usually I would fast forward this part. I don't know why I didn't fast forward it, but you guys are seeing how I'm doing it. As I was saying, if you're a beginner, this piece is not going to be for you. In as much as I want it to be for you, it's not going to be for you because of how complex it is. And sewing is like a skill. It's like, you know, like, yeah, like I don't know how to describe it as, right? But it gets to a point where it's like second nature, and it requires a lot of problem solving. You know, it is a puzzle, right? So some of the things that when you're intermediate, you're just gonna naturally know how to flow with the things, you know. So even though I did a video, I know that for beginners this may still be very complex, you know. It was complex for me because, like I said, I had an idea of how I'm gonna sew the dress. I had an idea, but when I went on to do it, even I was like, oh, let me try and figure this out, because it's my first time working on this design, you know. And that's the thing, every design you work on it's literally your first time, so you also are figuring it out. Anyway, I went ahead and I stitched that, I pinned and then I stitched everything, the printed seam in place, right? So now I'm going to take my back piece. I know my back piece seems like it's a bit longer than the front piece. That's because there's a corner, right? If you line them up, at the side seams like you're supposed to, and only stitch at half an inch seam allowance, because that's our seam allowance. Yeah, the seam allowance is included. To tell you guys that the seam allowance is included. So you just want to pin, and then you're going to stitch at the half inch seam allowance, and the piece won't be too long, right? So trust me on this. Just trust me on this. Anyway, go ahead and stitch them in place, and then voila, now you have your pieces, what your pieces look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the excess seam allowance, trim it off. And because we have a curve, right, when you try and, you know, press it and, you know, lay it flat, because it's a curve, it is not going to behave, you know, it's going to have a lot of tension. So what you want to do is you're just going to clip into the seam allowance a little bit so that you can ease the tension. And so when we do go and press it down with an iron, then at least it's going to be, you know, nice and flat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, I'm trimming off all of my excess seam allowance. I don't know what I was measuring there. think I was measuring if I did sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Yeah, anyway, so go ahead, and this is what I was talking about when I said you need to like go in and do your little clippings, right? Clip. Now, this part is going to be a little bit interesting, right? So what you're going to be doing for this part is, if you have a dress form, I hope you have a dress form, or I hope you have something that's a bit curved that you can do this part on. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my front piece, right? The left or the right, whichever one, right? I'm going to pin it onto my dress form. If you don't have a dress form, this part is going to be a bit intricate, right? But that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. You'll improvise, you know? So I'm just pinning it in place. And then the reason why I'm pinning it in place is because I am going to put the rouge piece on top, you know? So for this part, I'm going to use my gathering stitch, right? Basically what I did was I cut some rectangles. I'm so sorry guys, I'm also trying to film for TikTok and also speak to you guys, so I'm getting a little bit distracted. Anyway, I'm so sorry. So basically what I'm doing is I cut like 2 rectangle pieces, right? After I cut those 2 rectangle pieces, I went and just gathered them. So I cut my rectangle pieces as wide as my fabric because obviously I'm working on a dress form. I'll be able to control things, right? But I did make a piece for you guys to be able to gather it, right? And then put that piece onto the front piece. So but then how I did it was, originally I didn't have a specific piece. I just cut a rectangle from the salvage end of my fabric, from salvage to salvage, so basically as wide as my fabric. That is 150 centimeters, right? So I cut that, and then I'm using my gathering foot to gather the fabric, you know? So we're just gathering. So gather, you know? I bought a gathering foot. Funny story, because we like, babe, we are gonna be on this video for the next 1 hour. You and I are gonna be together here on this video for the next 1 hour, so I might as well just be telling you stories, you know? I'll tell you the story about the gathering foot. So now what I did was I put it back on my dress form, and I'm starting the process of just like pinning it in place, you know? So I'm gonna be pinning it in place. And then the reason why I love having a dress form is for the fact that when you are doing this part, you really want to get those, it's almost like a pleat effect, right? But it's not really a pleat effect. It's a gathered effect, but very defined gathers. You understand? So having a dress form really does help with that. And so if you don't have a dress form, it's gonna come out good, but having a dress form, just like, oh baby, it takes it to a whole new level. But if you do have like maybe a hem, you could try do it on your hem. That's why I said this is going to be very intermediate. You know, you have to, we need intermediate sewers here, you know. So as you guys can see, I'm trying my best to control those folds, you know. I want them to be very uniform and very neat. I'm not necessarily doing pleats, but I'm controlling the folds, you understand? So that's how we're doing that part, right? So I'm just going to be pinning the top and then pinning at the bottom, and then I'm gonna cut the excess off, right? So you guys can see I'm basically freestyling this part, you know. This is the part where you really connect with your fabric and you feel like an artist, you know. And you feel like you're making art. Okay, so once you've pinned everything in place, what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and like now trim off the excess fabric, right? Follow the shape of your front piece, right? So just trim it off, and then I'm like repinning everything. Like I said, I wanted those what do you call them, my little folds to be very uniform and very neat. Now we're gonna go ahead, you know, because we're making couture like the designers in Paris that make couture. We're going to hand stitch. This is the handmade part, the luxury handmade part of it, right? So I just take my needle and thread, and now I'm just gonna start like hand stitching the front. We'll just call it the overlay piece. Let's just call it the overlay piece. So we're going to take the overlay piece and then we're going to start stitching it onto the sewn front piece beneath it, right? So we're just doing a little basting stitch and we're holding it in place, right? So you want to do this for the top edge, and then please do it for the center front seam too, because I did not do it for the center front seam and then it was like a whole mess, right? So stitch it at the top and the bottom, and then stitch it at the center front, right? Remember to always respect the half-inch seam allowance. So go ahead and stitch this stitch. Okay, my loves, so yeah, like I said, we're just gonna go ahead and stitch everything. If you do not do this, even if you don't have the dress form, please try and stitch it the first time around, hand stitch it onto the piece. And then we're also going to repeat for the bottom. You're not going to see me do the lower edge, but I do the lower edge, right? And so now this is what it's going to look like, right? Your overlay is going to be stitched onto your, you know, front piece, basically, right? So what you want to do is you're going to take the other front piece, we'll just say the lining piece, right? So you're going to take your lining piece and then you are going to be putting it right sides together with the front piece. And this is why I said it was important to also stitch the center front seam of your overlay onto your lining piece, because you wouldn't have all of this extra confusion, because now I have like basically I have 3 layers of fabric that are just kind of loose, which is so much harder to work with than just having 1, you know, or 2, whatever. So go ahead and like pin everything at the center front. Once you've pinned everything at the center front, we are going to stitch the center front, and then we are going to stitch, we're going to do edge stitch. We're done with that. So yeah, after it's stitched in place, where I was pointing, that's where you are going to be doing your edge stitch, right? Because you want to make sure that the lining fabric does not peek in front. But because we have so much rouging and so much gathering, it's actually not going to happen. The rouging is going to take over everything. But you know, we're being technical. You know, we're trying to follow the rules of couture. We're being so technical. Anyway, now I'm going to show you guys how I did my strap. So with your strap, you're going to fold your strap in. This is what your strap is going to look like originally, right? What you are going to do is you're going to fold it in. You're going to fold it in half, right? First, then you are going to fold it in by half an inch on all the edges, right? So half an inch, and then press it down with an iron, half an inch again, then fold it in half again, like that. Gorgeous, beautiful, classic straps. What's your favorite way of making straps? I feel like this way makes the strap look very sophisticated, look very classy. The straps where you make a loop and then turn it inside out, I don't find it so classy when it's done on woven fabric. I think it's okay when you do it on stretch fabric, but on woven fabric, it's like a no, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take my strap, right? And I'm going to pin it onto my front piece, right? Where the rouging is. So basically, I'm going to be sandwiching the strap between these 2 pieces. Sandwich. And then I'm going to take the other piece, I'm going to fold it over. That's how we're going to make a sandwich, you know, that's how a sandwich works. So go ahead and pin your strap in place, fold it over, and then, yeah, I'll tell you what we do after that. Yeah, so now we're gonna pin it along the upper edge, right? Don't worry about the bottom. We're gonna pin it along the upper edge, and then we're gonna stitch it in place. After we stitch it in place, what are we gonna do? Trim off the excess seam allowance. Then we are going to complete an edge stitch or a top stitch, however you know that stitch to be, you know. So I was changing my foot here because remember I think I had the gathering foot. I don't know what foot I had at that point, but yeah, I'm changing my foot and getting the right foot in place, you know. So it seems like on this piece I had already stitched it, Okay, and now I was doing the top stitch. I'm sorry for that jump in seams. Okay, so when you're doing your top stitch, you open your piece right onto the right side, push the seam allowance towards the lining, and then we're going to be stitching very close to the lining, around 1 to 2 millimeters. 1 millimeter. Try and aim for 1 millimeter. But if you're still not confident with your sewing, okay, two and a half. I'll be so impressed if somebody knows how to stitch like 2.5 millimeters away. But anyway, we're going to stitch that in place. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to be stitching the bottom, right? So you're going to put it right sides, take your piece right sides together, and then pin it along the bottom edge, and then we're going to stitch. Please make sure that your strap is not caught up, right? So my strap basically is out, you know, like I pulled it out of the center back seam. Then you're going to stitch the lower edge. So now this part is going to be quite the complex part, and you're going to be very patient, right? You are going to have to use your loop turner to basically turn this top inside out, right? So I put my loop turner into the center back seam. Then I am like trying my best to pull it out. You're going to need to be very sensitive, not sensitive, but very careful not to rip anything, and take your time. The piece will come out, like the piece will come out. So I tried with the loop turner, and then I tried with my hand like this, where I was just like slowly folding it out of itself, you know? So this will take a good 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. You have to be very patient with this part, guys. Like I said, it's my first time making this dress, so I was also learning. So yeah, we're gonna turn the piece inside out. Yay! Now our piece is inside out, and voila, this is what it looks like, right? So we are going to repeat the same process for the other piece. So basically, this is a close up of what I did with the previous piece from when I did my edge stitch, right? So again here, my loves, like I said, everything I'm doing at this point is just basically an up close look of what I did with the previous piece, you know? So now you guys are just getting like a closer up look at it. We are done with this piece. We're just gonna go ahead and just like set it aside, and then we're gonna start working with the most complicated pieces, which the skirts. So with the skirts, there's a part of my filming that was lost, but I'm gonna explain to you, right? So we're gonna take our center front piece and we're gonna take our side front piece, put them right sides together, pin them at the princess seam, basically, right? Pin them, pin them, pin them. And then remember that we're gonna be having a slit on these pieces. However, to sew our slit, we're gonna start off by sewing a straight stitch onto the entire seam. Then later on, we're gonna open it, right? So you're gonna put your pieces right sides together. Then from the waistline going down, I'm just gonna be doing a straight stitch, right? So I made my slit 20 centimeters from the waistline. So for the first 20 centimeters, you're going to be stitching with a normal length stitch, a standard length stitch, which is like 2 millimeters length stitch. And then when I hit the 20 centimeter mark, I'm going to switch it up and then continue with my longest basting stitch, right? Which is about 5 millimeters or so. So that's what we are going to do. Yeah, so go ahead and stitch that in place. So stitch to stitch, like I said, when you get to the 20 centimeter mark, cancel whatever stitch that you're making. So now I'm going to take my front facing pieces, which is my chiffon, my main pieces, and again we're repeating the same process. We're taking the pieces, putting them right sides together, and then for the first 20 centimeters from the waist, we are going to be using our standard stitch, right? When we hit the 20 centimeter mark, we are then going to use a basing stitch, right? Like I said, later, this is the easiest way to make a slit. Later on, we're going to open it up. Okay, so basically what was lost in the filming, I'm so sorry for this guys, but what was lost in the filming is when I go and I finish the raw edges of the seams that I've made. So what you want to do is after this part, you're going to use your overlock foot or overcast foot, and you are going to finish the raw edges of each of the pieces, right? So on that princess seam, you want to open it and then finish the raw edge of one of the pieces and then finish the other raw edge of the other piece. Do you get it? So don't put them together and then finish the raw edge. No, like finish the raw edges separately, right? Especially where we're going to be cutting the slit, right? So now at this point, this is my center back, my back piece, right? So this is my back piece. I'm going to take the two lining pieces, put them right sides together at the center back, and then I'm going to stitch them in place. So you'll repeat this with the chiffon pieces, right? So you'll also repeat this with your main back skirt pieces. So that's what the whole piece looks like. So I'm repeating the same process with the chiffon. So I trimmed off the excess seam allowance, and then I'm using my overcast foot to finish the raw edge of the stitch that I made, right? So this is what I was saying, that I do this on the main piece, the main fabric for the back piece, and I also do it for the lining fabric of the back piece. On the front piece, remember we have the princess seams, right? So you want to overlock each side of that princess seam. Don't overlock them together, because remember we are going to open them up for our slit. Also, do not trim off your excess seam allowance on the front piece. So this is what it looks like. Please do not trim off your excess seam allowance on the front, right? Just go ahead and for the front, just go ahead and finish, spread the seam open, finish the one side, finish the other side, and leave it like that. I know that, you know, I'm taking a very huge gamble by explaining it using words instead of having the video, but I'm so sorry guys, I somehow lost that footage. I don't know if my battery was full and I did not notice or what happened, but I lost that footage, my loves. So I'm so sorry. So I'm counting on you to kind of understand with my words what we're doing, right? So now we have our back piece. This is our front piece, right? So you're opening it up, right? And that's basically going to, you know, finish the raw edge on each of the sides, right? Now, over here, I'm taking my front main piece, right? And here is the piece all together, right? Like I said, as you can see, a little bit, might have seen a little bit of a peak where I've pressed the seam open and I've finished both sides, right? So now I'm measuring my 20 centimeters, right? Remember I told you guys that my slit from my waist, I went down 20 centimeters, right? So now I'm going and marking that 20 centimeters. I'm gonna put a pin around there, just pin it in place. And then I am going to be starting my slit. You can make it longer, you know, you can make your slit cut higher, you can make it cut longer. So what I do is I'm taking my skirt, right, from the hem, right, where I have my seam allowances pressed open, and then I'm going to be stitching around 5 millimeters away from the seam, right, on the other side, and I'm just going to be stitching it in place using a standard stitch. So you're going to stitch the stitch in place and go all the way up to where your slit starts, right? Then you're going to pivot, turn it the other way around, stitch, and then turn it the other way around and go all the way down again. Luckily, we have footage of this, so you'll see exactly what I'm speaking about. So go all the way to where your slit starts, right? That's where you see my little pin. And then when I get there, with my needle still being inside my fabric, I'm gonna pick up my foot, turn it around, you know, turn it. And then I'm gonna do a few stitches, right? Then when my needle is inside, I'm gonna turn it again, and then we're gonna stitch all the way down until we reach the hip. So that will be our slit. From there, we are going to use a seam ripper to open the slit up. So remember, we're going to be repeating this for the other side and also for our lining, right? Because we also have a slit on the lining. So whatever I've done here, remember, you're going to repeat it for the other side of your main piece and also for your lining, right? I did cut out those seams because it was going to be too long. We already have an hour and 30 minutes of this video, and I'm sure, my loves, you guys do not want it to be any longer than that. So go ahead and just open that seam up. So you're going to be opening that seam up until you get to the start of your slit. And this is why it was important to use a basting stitch, because it's so loose and it's so easy for you to just like open it up. Okay, so now that is what it looks like on your lining. So we repeated the same process for the lining, like I said, and we repeated the same process for the other side of the main, front skirt piece. So there are your gorgeous slits. So now we're going to do a gathering stitch on the upper edge of the main skirt piece, right? So this part I hand stitched the gathers. So now after you've gathered the piece, you're going to take your lining piece, right? And then take the piece that you've just gathered, and then you're going to put them together, wrong sides together. Wait, do not quote me on that. Let's see. We're going to put wrong to right side, right? Wrong to right side. So you want to make sure that your lining piece, the wrong side is facing up, then your main piece, right, the right side is facing down. So you're putting them wrong to right sides together, and then you're going to pin them in place. But before that, we need to go grab our, so I'm just going to pin them at the princess seams first, right? But we are going to need to go ahead and grab our front top pieces, and then we're going to sandwich our front top pieces into these two pieces at the center front, where there's that little peak, you know, at the center front. That's where we are going to go stitch them. We're going to place them, right? So at this point, I was still like trying to make sure that my gathers are nice and, you know, uniform, they're nice and neat. And then I'm going to pin them. Then I'm going to go grab my front pieces and sandwich between the two pieces, right? So yeah, like I said, you're going to now pin your top pieces. I want you to note that the lining of my top piece is facing the lining of the skirt, right? So be mindful of that, because when you turn the piece inside out, you want to make sure that your chiffon, the main fabric is going to line up with the main fabric of the skirt. So be careful the direction that you pin your front pieces. So like I said, you're going to pin them between the two pieces, then pin the other piece. Go ahead and pin your skirt piece along the waistline, and then you're going to go ahead and stitch all of that in place. Okay, so after I've stitched that waist seam, basically, after I've stitched the two pieces together, I am gonna go ahead and trim off the excess seam allowance, and then we are going to do our edge stitch. Yeah, so now I'm just trimming off the excess seam allowance. Guys, let me be honest, right? After I had put the pieces like this, I wasn't so happy because when you turn it the right side out, you could literally see. So first of all, I'm gonna finish the raw edge first, right? And then I'll talk. So when I turned the piece right side out, I noticed that remember originally I had stitched the princess seams, and then I finished the raw edge on each side. So when I turned it right side out, I was like, oh my gosh, like the seams are too, I don't know, they're very close, right? So I did do we're gonna do the top stitch, which kind of like hides it from showing in the front. But to be honest, I wish that I had just done a binding. You know what I mean? Like I genuinely wish I had done a binding. So if you want to do it how I did it, go ahead, go ahead. But I would recommend that if you really want to take it a step further, maybe try and do a binding instead of what I did, my loves. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about, right? When you turn the piece right side out, you see how very close that seam is with the seam that we finished the raw edges. You see that? Oh, that's very close to the waistline, and I didn't like it much, guys. Oh, I didn't like it much. So I would recommend that maybe you do a binding instead of doing what I did. But this is what I did, and it was too late to turn back now because the fabric had been cut. We had started the process, so we're not gonna waste. But when I did do the edge stitch, I'm not gonna lie, it does hide it and it does not peek when I'm wearing the dress. But yeah, no, it's too much. Anyway, there we go, stitch to stitch. Yeah, for you. So go ahead and Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is basically to really hold that in place at the princess seam, I took my skirt and put it right sides together, and then I lined it up at the princess seam, and then I'm just gonna do like a couple of stitches 1 centimeter long at those princess seam to really hold it in place. This is the thing that really holds it in place, and it makes it so that the lining doesn't peek onto the front, you know what I mean? So just do a few stitches going down right in between that seam, you know. So do it for the other side, and yeah. Whew, we still have a whole 20 minutes of filming to go, and I have been sitting here for an hour and a half. Oh gosh. Okay, so we love it. I love it. I love doing this, guys, even though I know someone is not gonna like the video. Sometimes people like the video, sometimes people don't like the videos. Sometimes people are like, no, I want written instructions. And I'm like, I cannot illustrate. I'm not that great at illustrations, you know? So sometimes I don't always illustrate the best. So now we're gonna take our back pieces, we're gonna put them together. How did I do this? How did I do this again? Wrong to right side. Yes, put them wrong to right sides together, pin at the waist seam, and then we're gonna stitch the waist in place. Okay, same thing as the front, except this time we don't have any top pieces to sandwich in between the two pieces. When you're done with the stitch, please do not trim off the excess seam allowance, because this will act as our channeling, because we're going to make a channel for our elastic, you know. So just go ahead and just finish the raw edge. So now I'm gonna take the front skirt piece, right? Like I'm gonna take my front piece, my original piece that I worked on, and I'm gonna take my back piece, and then I'm gonna be stitching them at the side seams. So make sure that you are matching the chiffon with the chiffon, and you're matching the lining with the lining. You're putting them right sides together, and you're just gonna pin them along the side seams on both sides, you know, and then we're gonna stitch them in place. And then I'm gonna go ahead and when you are done, what you're gonna do is go to the back of your skirt piece, right? So on the back of the skirt piece, we are basically going to be making a channeling for our elastic. So you wanna make sure that you're channeling, you skip about half a centimeter, skip a centimeter from the side seam, and then you are going to stitch a centimeter away from the, you know, the folded edge or the original seam, and then you're going to stitch the entire length of the back, right? This is going to make a channeling that's wide enough to fit your elastic. So you are going to then have that channeling, right? So then you're gonna measure how much, whatever. So basically, that's how it goes. whatever length the back piece is, you're going to only be stitching, you're going to need half of it. That's how it's going to work, right? You might need it to be smaller. You're gonna have to fit it, you know, you're gonna have to fit it and see how it fits. You might have to cut it shorter. It's gonna be all up to you, you know. So but start off with cutting half of it, and then you are going to take that elastic and then you are going to basically string it through the channeling, right? So I'm gonna open my chiffon and then I'm going to put my loop turner in between those layers, because remember we did skip a little bit, and then at the end I hope you didn't stitch all the way. I forgot to tell you this, don't stitch all the way when you are stitching your channels. Don't stitch all the way at the end, right? So leave a centimeter at the end, also leave a centimeter in the beginning, so that you are able to put your loop turner in between, right? And then your loop turner is going to come out like that. Then you're going to hook your elastic, pull it all the way through, and then you're going to stitch the ends of the elastic in place. Okay, so now what I did end up doing is I did end up putting like bra cups into my piece. These are pre-made bra cups. You don't have to do this depending on how much your bust is. I am a C cup, and so I did need a little bit of support. So what I did was I just folded the bra cup in and I slid it in from the center back seam, right? So this also took some time. Once the bra cup is in, I kind of like, you know, fixed it, make sure it's sitting right. Then for the center back edge, I folded it inside by 1/2 centimeter like that, and then I'm just gonna stitch it closed, right? 2 millimeters away from the fold, and then just stitch it close. Then cut off the excess threads. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and fold it over and then stitch it again. I'm folding it over by like 2 centimeters, and then I'm gonna stitch it over again. Remember, what you do for one part, you're gonna do for the other side. The reason why I'm fidgeting like this is I wanted to make sure that my stitch is in between the folds so that it's hidden by the ruching, basically, right? Now to finish off, I'm going to be using my rolling hem foot, and then I'm just going to be hemming the dress like this. So I'm going to do it on all the pieces, the front, the back, everything. So I'm just using a rolled hem until I'm completely done with everything, and that is going to be the last part of your dress. Of course, when you're done, don't forget to steam it, press it down with an iron, etc. Yeah, but this is it.